Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Om Gyantimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmalitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. Do you think you could turn that off, Dimitri, that fountain, please? Okay. So, happy 4th of July to all of you. All right, so we're continuing with ISKCON Disciple Course, and we are on 5, right? Yeah.
Beginning of Unit 2.
Yep. Is it Unit 2? So it should be page 30. So lesson 5. Guru Pad Ashraya. So Padashaya. So Guru, teacher, Padashaya is taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Guru. And this is Prabhupada lesson topics, Diksha, Shiksha, Guru, Padashaya. So taking shelter of the lotus. I don't think you know where it is? I think he got lost. He's looking everywhere out there. Yeah. Pada, well, I guess it doesn't, it says feet, because Ashraya means shelter and Pada means feet. So taking shelter of the feet of the spiritual master, which is a humble, right? But yeah, you usually say lotus feet, but so we'll start now. Guidelines for Prabhupada Ashraya. So here's a thought exercise, or a written exercise, thought and written exercise. List some specific ways we can develop a deep, authentic, devotional relationship with Srila Prabhupada from the beginning of our spiritual life. So everybody could please do that. List some specific ways we can develop a deep, authentic, devotional relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Would you like to share, Tyler?
Yeah, just one at a time, or just what I wrote?
Whatever you like.
Okay. Well, in the order that I wrote them, I was trying to think of ways that we can relate to aspects of him. So, of course, the first one is to read his books. The second is to be initiated by a disciple of his. The third is practice Guru Puja like we do in the morning, because we're directly giving him obeisances and glorifying him. And on that same note, we chant mantras that glorify him, and we also bow down to his murti.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I just wrote preaching and following guidelines of his teachings.
Well, that's good.
And I also wrote offering not only obeisances but fruits of our actions to Srila Prabhupada as well.
Nice.
I like the preaching one.
Would you like to share, Gene? No? Okay. All right. Yeah, so there's different ways we could develop a deep, authentic devotional relationship with Srila Prabhupada from the beginning of our spiritual life. And one thing to keep in mind in relation to that is that that spiritual relationships aren't bound by time and space. So, in other words, for a spiritually powerful personality to feel the presence of a spiritually powerful personality within our lives, it doesn't require necessarily that we're in their physical proximity. So the saints, the guidance of the saints, the guidance of great devotees, can be felt and experienced on a day-to-day basis, and that's what it means to one of the aspects of having a relationship. So, but yeah, to read his books, to follow his instructions, to try to spread the message of Krishna consciousness. These are different ways we can have an authentic devotional relationship with Prabhupada. And but what we could say in addition to that is that one way of having an authentic relationship with someone is just to try to understand who they are. Like if somebody's married, or if somebody has a friend, or something like that, you want to have a relationship with these people, these different types of persons. And a very important aspect is just to know who they are. Okay, like what do they stand for? What do they like? What do they don't like? What makes them mad? What makes them happy? And then there's some chance of having an authentic relationship, because it's based on us trying to understand who the person is and trying to make them happy based on that. So if we understand, of course, we understand Srila Prabhupada's a great devotee, pure devotee of Krishna, and we have some understanding of him. But if we try to understand him more and more and more, to the degree we're able to do that, then the relationship with him has a chance to become more strong and powerful and authentic. So those are just some points. So here we have some quotes. Srila Prabhupada has a unique relationship with every ISKCON devotee. As the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, and the preeminent teacher and ultimate authority within our society, Srila Prabhupada has a unique relationship with every ISKCON devotee. Now, instruct new members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. ISKCON devotees shall instruct new members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and to receive guidance, training, and assistance from those who are instructing them in Krishna consciousness. ISKCON members shall choose when and from whom they wish to request initiation. They must focus their attention on Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya and as their preeminent Shiksha Guru. So Prabhupada's the Shiksha guru for everyone, giving instructions. And to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada means to meditate on him daily, every day, morning, noon, evening, as much as possible throughout the day. And to chant his pranam mantra, right? Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dashtarine, which we sing every time we have kirtan, right? We sing that mantra to Prabhupada. And then in terms of who and when they want to ask for initiation, it says it's up to the ISKCON members. So, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Serbi. So it's up to the particular individuals when and from whom they wish to request initiation. So we're on page 30. We haven't made a lot of distance yet, so we're discussing the second quote here: "Instruct new members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada." So yeah, it's a matter of inspiration in terms of who we want to get initiated from. Of course, we should be careful because I think we had discussed this a little bit before, but it's a serious relationship we're entering, and we shouldn't take it kind of cheaply or superficially. We should try to be sure who we want to take initiation from. We don't want to make some mistake. Oh, I shouldn't have taken from that person. So we really want to think about it and ask others what do they think. And there was one devotee, he wanted to take initiation from this devotee Shachinandana Swami, and so he asked Shachinandana Swami, will you initiate me? So then Shachinandana Swami, okay, he said, all right, well, let's see how this relationship goes, and we'll see. So then some time passed, and quite some time passed, and then Shachinandana Swami wasn't initiating him. And then later, that devotee, he realized that just over time that Shachinandana Swami is not my Diksha guru, and he became attracted to Krishna Chaitra Swami. And then he asked Krishna Chaitra Swami for initiation, and then he said yes, and now he's his disciple. So then later on, he was this devotee was talking to Satchidananda Swami about this, and then Satchidananda Swami said, "Yeah, I knew you weren't my disciple," and he said, "I just didn't want to hurt your feelings and tell you because I could tell you're really interested in taking initiation from me, but I knew that, and then I'm happy that you realized over time something like that." So." Anyways, however you want to relate that to your life or whatever, but it's an interesting point. So yeah, every devotee has a unique relationship with Prabhupada and ISKCON. And you see these GBC statements. This is 2013. This is first Harinam initiation, ISKCON law. So a lot of these laws and GBC statements, these are the GBC, the Governing Body Commission of ISKCON, they meet twice a year. Means the main leaders or managers within ISKCON, they meet and they discuss different things, philosophical, managerial, and so on. And it's a voting system, right? They all discuss and they vote and they come up with different laws and statements about Prabhupada and so on. So. Okay, so the third, chant at least the first of Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras. After chanting the pranam mantra of their Diksha Guru, so once one asks for initiation from a guru, that person should start chanting that guru's pranam mantra. For example, my spiritual master's pranam mantra is Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Prabhupadati Priya Shri Giriraj Swami Nityanamane Subhakta Shastaviga Dridha Sadhana Shalane Radha Ras Vihara Vyam Bhakti Beshatvedine, which means I offer my humble obeisances to Srila Giriraj Swami, who's very dear servant of Srila Prabhupada, and who's very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter of his lotus feet. He is expert in the study of Scripture and the speaking of Scripture, and is fixed in his spiritual practices, and is dedicated his life to Radha and Krishna and the devotees serving them. So some gurus, they have that like a longer one like that, but then some will have like a shorter one, like Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutale Srimate Tyler Swami Iti Namane. No, I'm just joking. Tyler's not a guru, not a Diksha guru, but they have shorter ones, just short, that's, you could say, the generic one. That's like the first one of every guru's is, I offer my humble obeisances to so and so, who's very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter of his lotus feet. So one should chant that mantra as soon as one asks for initiation and is accepted as aspiring disciple. So that's one of the first duties of a aspiring disciple, is to chant that pranam mantra daily. Pranam, yeah, Pranam, pranam. Yeah, there you go. Pranam mantras, yeah. Every guru has a pranam mantra. So that's one of the first duties of aspiring disciples, to chant the guru's pranam mantra, and also to have a picture of the spiritual master, which should be the same size or smaller size as Srila Prabhupada's, not a bigger one. Same size or smaller size as Srila Prabhupada on one's altar, in one's home. They could have a picture of their guru. It's good to do that, specifically at the place of like an altar. And here it's stating one should chant the pranam mantra of their Diksha Guru. All grand disciples in future generations should chant at least the first of Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras while offering obeisances as a means of respecting the founder Acharya. Now, my personal, or I'd say humble, advice, or my humble opinion, or my humble request is that although it says they should chant at least Srila Prabhupada's, the first part of his pranam mantra, I do both, and I think it's good if devotees do both. So in other words, when you're offering pranam mantras to your guru, you say Prabhupada's after or before, but generally it's after. You chant pranam mantras to your guru first, and then to Srila Prabhupada. But Prabhupada has two parts. So here it's saying you could just chant the first part. But again, I chant both, and I think it's better or superior, because it's there's no reason not to, actually. It only takes another 1 minute or something. So when I'm offering obeisances to Prabhupada every morning, I have to lay there a little longer because I'm offering this pranam mantra to my guru and then Prabhupada. So it's a little longer, but yes.
That was my question.
Why lay there so long?
No. Do we do group puja?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, you do both. And even when you see your guru, like if you see your guru in person, you do both. That's what I do. So, okay, so then 31, page 31. Diksha Shiksha, Guru Parashraya, and Prabhupada Pradashraya. What is the relationship between Diksha, Shiksha, Guru Parashraya, and Prabhupadashraya? So what's the relationship between taking shelter of a Shiksha Guru, an instructing Guru, and a Diksha Guru, initiating Guru, what's the relationship um, with taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada? How are they related? How is, the Gurus, us, taking shelter of a Shiksha Guru, of a Diksha Guru, and Prabhupada, how is that all related? So I think it's a little exercise written.
Cheers. There's no other chair. Oh, yeah.
Would anyone like to share their thoughts? Not really. Okay, let's hear it, Tyler.
Okay, so the main thing I'm thinking is that we're joining a lineage that goes all the way back to Krishna instructing Brahma. So Prabhupada himself, he took those initiations from his spiritual master. And ideally, our spiritual master took those Diksha and Shiksha initiations from Prabhupada, or at least a direct disciple of someone who took it from Prabhupada. So it kind of bona fides us in that lineage of the disciplic succession. And then the other thing was that Prabhupada established within ISKCON that that's the way to do it, to take those initiations from a bona fide guru. And so the relationship is that we're following his instructions on how to become initiated in devotees.
Yeah.
Which one do those have merit, or do you think there's a better way of approaching that?
Yeah, they have merit. Yeah. The main thing is to not see them separated. In other words, the Diksha Guru, the initiating spiritual master who gives you the spiritual name and you take vows to and gives you the beads, and then the Shiksha Guru, the instructing teacher, guru, who we take instructions from. It could be many, many different personalities. And Prabhupada, we see them all together, working together. So it's, in other words, it's not just Srila Prabhupada, and it's not just the Diksha Guru, and it's not just the Shiksha Guru, but it's all of them. Of course, Prabhupada has a special place, unique place, and you can't compare anybody to him. But Prabhupada liked that devotees would recognize the other devotees as being valid sources of inspiration, we hope, and guidance for others. So that's the thing. Do you think you could open up that window, Dimitri, please?
I wrote down that we should take shelter in all three.
Yes. 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 Yeah, there was one devotee. We should take shelter in all three. Yes, correct. There was one devotee. He um he had a dream one time. He told Prabhupada his dream. It was a disciple of Prabhupada. And he told Prabhupada his dream. And his dream was that in this dream he saw Krishna speaking with Arjuna on the battlefield, the Bhagavad Gita. He had Krishna and Arjuna speaking. And then in the dream, Krishna, he turned into Prabhupada. And Arjuna, he turned into Hayagriva, this disciple. And then Prabhupada started speaking to Hayagriva, instructions. And then this disciple Hayagriva told Prabhupada the dream, and Prabhupada said, "Oh yes, this is very good." Now, of course, Krishna or Prabhupada is not Krishna, but the point that Prabhupada thought was good about the dream is that yes, it's the same message, and it's just as good, just as good. So, like sometimes we want God's right mercy, we want His instructions, we want His help. And I did I tell that did I tell that here about the guy? I think I told it here, right? The guy was there was a flood in town. No, I told it somewhere. Maybe anyways. There was a flood in town, and then the man he went on top of his house, right? And there's a big flood, water everywhere. And then a boat came by and said, "Oh, hey man, jump on the boat." And then the guy said, "Oh no, 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 God will save me," right? So then some time passes, and then a helicopter comes. Hey, grab the rope. Oh no, 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 God will save me. And then um, somebody on a jet ski, hey, jump on. Oh no, God will help me. So then eventually the guy just drowns, right? Because it's flooding. Boat came, helicopter. No, he didn't want he didn't want any help from these people. So then he went to heaven, and then in heaven, he met God, and the guy said, "Hey, what happened? I was waiting for you to save me." And then God said, "Well, I mean, what do you mean? I sent the helicopter. I sent the boat. I sent the jet ski. I mean, what do you?" So this illustrates that there's so much help. We could get as much help as we need, actually, but we have to know how to recognize it. So yeah. So we should see the different gurus as Krishna's manifestations trying to help us. So okay, so there's this. A disciple in ISKCON should take shelter from three sources. So we have Srila Prabhupada, Shiksha Gurus, which could be many, and then we have Diksha Guru, which is one, and then the disciple. Shiksha Guru not speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. This is in Honolulu, July 4th. Hey, look at that. 1974. There you go. Bhagavad Gita 17, 1 to 3. Sometimes a Diksha Guru is not present always. That's a lot of the times the case. Therefore, one has to take learning from an advanced devotee. That is called the Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru does not mean he is speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. He is not a Shiksha Guru. He is a rascal. A devotee is delivered through a combination of various manifestations of his mercy. This is a GBC statement on the position of Srila Prabhupada, written in 2013. As such, a devotee is ultimately delivered by Sri Krishna, acting through a combination of various manifestations of his mercy. These include, but are not limited to, the Chaitya Guru, means the Guru in the heart, Srila Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, disciplic succession, one's Diksha Guru, other Shiksha Gurus, the holy name, Shastra, and the 9 processes of devotional service. Spiritually mature ISKCON managers may be main Shiksha gurus. Spiritually mature managers may be the main Shiksha gurus for devotees who are not their initiated disciples. And such relationships are to be fully encouraged by the initiating spiritual masters. So the temple presidents or the GBCs or different managerial positions, if they're spiritually mature, then devotees um, they could they could take inspiration, guidance, learn from them. Srila Prabhupada is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for all members of ISKCON. Within these cooperative elements, Srila Prabhupada, as the founder chair of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for all members of ISKCON. All members of ISKCON, for all generations, are encouraged to seek shelter of Srila Prabhupada. All members of ISKCON are entitled and encouraged to have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada through his books, teaching, service, and his ISKCON society. And this is happening like in the Sri Sampradaya. You have Ramanujacharya, who was like appeared 1,000 years ago, I think. They're all still meditating on him and taking inspiration from him. So the idea is to keep Prabhupada in the center. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments before we move on to the next section? All right, yes. All right, the next section is selecting a guru. Oh, it's a fun one, huh? Fun section. Okay, qualifications of a bona fide guru, selecting a guru. So here's a thought exercise, I keep on saying thought exercise, but written exercise for the devotees here. What are you looking for in a guru? So, what are some personal things you're looking for in a guru? Dimitri and Tyler and all of you. So we'll take a few minutes to write. I'm just going to get some water. I'll be back. Anyone like to share? You like to share?
Guru must be someone who is established in the service to the Supreme Lord and who can control his behavior like through actions.
Yes. All right. So a guru must be someone who's fixed or established in their service to Krishna and able to control, have self-control, control their actions. Like Rupa Goswami says, Vacho Vegam Manasa, Krodha Vegam, the urges of the senses and the mind. Yeah, that's important. You don't want to get a guru who's because factually, if someone's not fixed in the service of Krishna and they're not advanced, because it means they have to be advanced, then they shouldn't act as Diksha Guru. So, yeah. Did you have something, Tyler?
I wrote down the 26 qualities. Yeah, should be having those 26 qualities.
26 qualities, yes. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita says there's 26 qualities of a devotee. So.
Did you see in the next section they quote that Vacho Vegam? They quote that whole shloka you just referenced.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, look how good he is. He didn't even know that. He's quoting the shloka that comes up right next. The guru gives you a name and he gives you the holy name.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was thinking less his qualities and what the guru does with you or for you. So at the same time, I'm looking to be chastised by him, but also receive his mercy. And then they take on your karma.
You have to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's also what I need, unfortunately. That's a relief.
What if he chastises you too much?
Then I'm that much of a rascal, right? And then ultimately, we're choosing someone who's literally holding the door open in the spiritual world for us when we go there. So we really got to make sure that someone is going to hold the door open when we get there. They're not going to lose the key on the way or not answer when we knock. So I like what she said, that they definitely need to have the qualities of a holy person. And if they're going to engage you in devotional service, they definitely need to be fixed up in theirs. Then they can offer it. I mean, there's so many things, right, with the guru, things you can look for.
Yeah.
So I guess the next section is the qualifications too. So that kind of plays into that they're practicing pure devotional service so they can engage us in devotional service.
Yeah.
Oh, and that the guru is bona fide too. We definitely want to be making sure we're looking for a guru who meets these qualifications.
Yeah. The qualifications of a bona fide guru: Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Adharapasta Vegam Etan Vegam Nivishaheta Dira Sarvam Apimam Pratibim Shishya. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So this is from the Nectar of Instruction, verse 1. And then the next one, Tadvigartam Sagurum Eva Bigachet Samit Panya Shotiyam Brahmanishtam. To understand these things properly, one must humbly approach with firewood in hand. It means be humble. A spiritual master who is learned in the Vedas and firmly devoted to the absolute truth. A bona fide, this is from the teachings of Kapila-dev. A bona fide guru does not impart some self-styled, concocted knowledge. His knowledge is standard and received from the parampara system, the cyclic succession. He is also firmly fixed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahmanishtam. These are his two qualifications. He must have heard the Vedic knowledge through the disciplic succession, and he must be established in service to the Supreme Lord. He does not have to be a very learned scholar, but he must have heard from the proper authority. So, what are some inappropriate ways? What are inappropriate reasons to want to take initiation from a particular guru? What would you say? What do you think?
I have a question.
Yes.
You're talking about Diksha Guru, right?
Yes.
So I have no idea how much interaction we have Diksha Guru, but for me, like some days I should select the Indian Guru. So for me, that is a valid thing. It's not because of the preference or racism like this thing, but because of language barriers, so that I can understand each and every word correctly.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. So that is the only reason I prefer, because that will be better for me if I choose Indian Guru. So I can connect more because of only the language.
Yeah. That lasting touch, Gene. Well,
But Prabhuji, I have a question again.
yes.
At the same time, I don't know if we have any Indian Diksha Gurus in America, like here. So that is the confusion.
One devotee, Tamal Krishna Goswami. So we're on page 33, by the way. One devotee, he was the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna Goswami, American, born, New York. And in Houston and Dallas, there's quite a few Indians there still, and they were becoming devotees, and they were accepting initiation from him. And he was saying that well, it makes sense that you're all taking initiation from a guru who's American. And he said, because you're in America. And he said, if you're in India, it makes sense you take an initiation from somebody who's Indian. Of course, he was kind of joking. But there are devotees from India who act as gurus who come to America. There's not, it seems like a lot. A lot of them somehow or other stay in India, or they go other places in Europe and so on. But there are some, like Gopal Krishna Goswami, Lokanath Swami, Nava Yogendra Swami, this is not Mahavishnu Swami. Anyways, I'm forgetting the other one. Different ones. But the one thing is, I wouldn't get. Of course, that's there, the language, and I have heard that before. But I wouldn't completely. Of course, it's just me speaking. I mean, people are free to think how they want, but I wouldn't completely latch on to that idea. And the reason being is because the Krishna consciousness or spiritual life, just the words communicating Krishna consciousness, it goes beyond language. Like for example, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was speaking in Bengali or English or something like that, and then someone was saying, "Oh, I think he was speaking in English," and then they wanted him to speak in Bengali because he was from Bengal, and then he said, "I'm not speaking English." He said, "I'm speaking the message of Krishna. It's beyond Bengali, English. It's beyond all that. It's transcendental, spiritual." Because sometimes you wonder, because Srila Prabhupada, he had disciples in Germany and all over Europe, and they didn't speak English. And Prabhupada didn't speak the language that they spoke at all. Not even a word. I mean, maybe Prabhupada learned a few words. Like I heard when Prabhupada was in Mexico, he would tell people in the morning, what is it, Buenos dias, good morning. Because he'd be walking, Prabhupada would be walking, and then the local people in Mexico, they'd tell him, saintly person. Oh, buenos dias, good morning, right? Yeah. So then Prabhupada said, oh, what is this buenos dias? And then devotee said, oh, it means good morning. And Prabhupada said, okay. And then he walked and he would tell the people, oh, buenos dias, good morning. So, but the devotees in Mexico, they didn't know English. Prabhupada didn't know, Spanish, but they were so inspired, like, yeah. And also in Germany, they didn't know English, and Prabhupada didn't know German, but he Prabhupada would speak, and then the devotees would translate what Prabhupada was saying. And they were so inspired because of Prabhupada, what he was saying, but also just because of Prabhupada's personality. He was just so pure and great. So ultimately, it doesn't rest on that, just language, but I do understand how it could help in terms of relating to the person more, maybe. But yeah, so but it's up to you, and it depends on how inspired you are. You may feel very inspired by somebody who's from America. You may feel very inspired by someone who's from India. So
Personally, I listen to this Holiness Radhanath Swamiji. I like his lectures, but it's not about the preference. It's just about understanding the language, each and every word. It gets difficult for us sometimes.
oh really?
Yeah, because it's second language for us. So,
You too? You're from Russia, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, I could understand that.
that's why I said like how much interaction we have with Diksha Gurus or neither at all. So if we never get to communicate with our Diksha Guru, then it's okay, maybe I can listen and understand or translate something with the help of my husband. But like as a Diksha Guru, if you are here, I can ask any question, I can come to you, then I think it would be better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the Diksha Guru, like traditionally, there'd be a Diksha Guru sannyasi. He would come to town, and then he would, speak with people. I mean, he might frequent there a few times, but largely he was traveling. He was on the move, and a lot of the Diksha Gurus nowadays are on the move. They're moving a lot, here, there, all over. So the disciples shouldn't re- try. I mean, they should try to, be in physical proximity, try to serve the spiritual master as much as they can, physically. But they shouldn't rely on that only. Mostly it's the instructions of the guru, which can be listened to, the lectures and so on. Yeah. I mean, devotees could use it like for example, some people who English wasn't their first language, they would read Srila Prabhupada's books, and that would help them understand, English more. So they use it as a means to understand more. But yeah, I can understand this idea of communicating in one's own language, how it could be helpful. You but just on the other side, if you're inspired by somebody, uh, then you're inspired by somebody, and it's not doesn't depend on the language. So, but I can understand from both. You're welcome. So, some inappropriate ways or reasons to select a guru. There's a shloka in the in the Vedic literature. It says that a person born in the family of dog eaters, who becomes a devotee, they could, if they become a devotee, they could act as a spiritual master, provided their consciousness has been purified, because they've engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness and they've purified themselves through that engagement. But it says even a person born in a very high family, like the family of a Brahmin, which is one who has so many good qualities and training and education. If they're not a devotee, or if they're um, a if they're not a devotee, it says they can't purify themselves. What to speak of anybody else by their association. So, in other words, someone may have a fallen background, a low background, like Haridas Thakur. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's one of his main associates. He would chant all day and night, and he was very, he was the Namacharya. He's the teacher of the chanting of the holy names, and he was born in a in Islam family, but much of in that tradition, the eating of meat is okay, is permissible, right? Is fine. But within the Hindu groups, or within specifically Vaishnav groups, they don't do that. They think that's a bad quality. That's a low quality. You know. So but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he elevated him to the position of Namacharya, the great teacher of the chanting of the holy names. So, but still to this day, some Brahmins, they refer to Haridas Thakur as Yavana Haridas, which is bad. Yavana means a meat eater. So they refer to him as Yavana Haridas, meat eater, uncultured person. So they're saying Yavana Haridas, which meat eater, uncultured Haridas. But Haridas is Namacharya. He's the Namacharya. He's the teacher of the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, chanting all day and night. Great saint, great pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So why I'm bringing this up is that inappropriate reason to accept a guru is to base one's acceptance on that guru as based on his upbringing, or family upbringing, or tradition, or lack of tradition, uncultured. Because if he might have been born in a low family, which means low class, uncultured activities, and so on. But if he has surrendered his life to Krishna, as if he has become pure, if he has managed to become a devotee and managed to really make advancement, then he should be respected as such, and not seen from his past. And an example of this is another example from Lord Chaitanya's Bilvamangala Thakur. Bilvamangala Thakur was attached. He was very materialistic, attached to a materialistic woman, devoid of God consciousness practically completely. And it's a long story, but he became elevated. And Haridas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, eventually he gave up that association with that woman and became a pure devotee and living in Vrindavan. But he would write books, and Lord Chaitanya would read those books. Despite his low, it was really bad for years, very low character, but then became a saint. So Prabhupada mentions this in the Nectar of Instruction. He says, one should not think, oh, here is an American Goswami, and here is an Indian Goswami. Meaning that, oh, the Indian Goswami is better because he may have been born in a purer family, better family, and the American Goswami, not so good because he engaged in so many sinful activities. And so why is that brought up? Because we should also note that it's not just because one is born in India, and not just because one is born as a Brahmin family, that necessarily makes one pure. There's many rascals in India. Actually, the biggest ones ever came out of India. You know who? Hiranyakashipu, right? Torturing Prahlad Maharaj, right? Nrsingadev came. He was a big demon. He came right out of India. Hiranyaksha, his brother, Ravana. Big Brahmins are coming out of India, but also big demons. So and also it says in the Bhagavatam and the Vedic literature says that actual demons. I mean, the word's used. It doesn't mean it's, one with horns or something, but it's actually used as, people with evil tendencies and, just against God and so on. Those people will be born in Brahmin families in this age because it's such a fallen age. So, and then, people, he was born in a very pure family, right? And that may be true, but I know of one. I mean, I'm using all of these different I'm bringing up all these different points to try to emphasize this idea of not making distinctions. But there was this one person, and he was like a sannyasi, but practically he was a sannyasi in name only. He wasn't really following, and he was practically a criminal in the dress of a sannyasi. And so bad that, I mean, he ran out of India because if he came back to India, they'd put him in jail. And but still people throughout the world, because he'd do some traveling and preaching. He dressed as a sannyasi, but as a Vaishnava sannyasi, but he wasn't. But still, people would glorify him for his great birth. Such a pure family and this and that, but So Prabhupada would say you could be born in a Brahmin family, or you could be born in the family of doctors, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a doctor. You have to be trained and actually follow the procedures and policies of a doctor, and you're considered a doctor. So the last thing in relation to this is that, okay, you have Indian Goswami, American Goswami. Prabhupada says you shouldn't see the difference. A devotee is advanced, can become advanced despite their background. But if someone becomes rich, they're rich, right? It means it's not like, okay, let's say we got 3 people in this room. We'll say Dimitri is here, Tyler's here, and I'm here, right? Let's say that I'm filthy rich, which I'm not, by the way. And Dimitri and Tyler are filthy rich, which I don't think they are, by the way, either. But let's just say we were, right? We're just filthy rich, just like had all the money we could ever wanted, or that anybody could ever wanted, right? We had that much money. So now let's say that I was rich due to my birth, right? I was born in a rich family, so automatically it came, right? It was there. As soon as I was born, I was rich, practically speaking. And you had Dimitri, who worked very hard, got his PhD, and some big corporation, made his way up the ladder, became a big boss, right? Made so much money by his hard work, right? And he became rich, filthy rich. And then you have Tyler, who became rich by inheritance, right? Somehow or other, he just was left a huge inheritance. So 3 different ways. I was born with it, Dimitri worked for it, and Tyler got it by inheritance, right? But we're all rich. So a rich person is a rich person doesn't exactly, when you enter into a big party full of rich people, which I wouldn't want to do anyways, because sometimes with all this wealth, a lot of the times just people kind of lose their moral fiber a lot. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. But when you enter a huge party full of wealthy people, it's not like necessarily they're thinking, "Oh, how did you get rich? How did you enter this party?" It's like, "Hey, you're rich. It doesn't matter." So similarly, we could become perfect. Means a guru can become perfect by different methods. They could be born like that. In other words, they're sent for that purpose, like Srila Prabhupada. He's already perfect, and he's preaching Krishna consciousness, right? Or you could become perfect by working hard, by sadhana. So that's called sadhana siddha. Siddha is perfection, sadhana by practice, spiritual practice, chanting, and so on. Nitya siddha, eternally perfect, you're born like that. And then there's inheritance, means kripa siddha, means you become perfect by some special mercy of Krishna or his devotee. So in other words, one may become a guru by being a nitya siddha. One may become a guru by their spiritual practices, right? Become qualified. Or one may become a guru by special mercy, Krishna. But a guru is a guru. So saying all that, which was a long preface, it is inappropriate to um, to to accept initiation from a guru um, simply based on these different considerations. Means uh, where they were born, what ethnicity they are, what is their background. Because ultimately, spiritually, it doesn't. If one's pure, one's pure. If one's rich, one's rich. So that's one inappropriate reason. So what are some other inappropriate reasons? Anybody have any other ideas? Some inappropriate reasons? Maybe because the guru has a nice white smile. He has nice teeth. Man, see that guru's teeth? They're really white. What if the guru doesn't have any teeth? I don't know about that guru. I don't know if I want to accept him. Doesn't have any teeth. Um, what about if the guru doesn't have a leg? That's inappropriate, right? Oh, I don't want to accept him because he doesn't have a leg. There's actually one guru who doesn't have a leg, by the way. His leg got in Mayapur. There was a big attack on the temple, and people were throwing bombs and trying to steal from the temple in Mayapur, and he was there. And they threw a bomb and it actually, blew off his right leg. And then you know what his reaction was? He said, "Yeah, actually, that leg was kind of causing me some problems, anyways." um, his crutches, He had a very nice devotee. His name is Bhakti Raghava Swami. But so, in other words, to see a devotee based on the deformity of the body, whatever, no leg, or missing a tooth, or and the flip side is that, oh well, whatever, the guru's very handsome, or nice teeth, or he's got a nice voice, really nice voice, soothing voice. I mean, I could understand, people. In some ways, these are some attractive features, people could say, but to not accept a guru on the basis of not having certain things like this, it's not. It's inappropriate, because it says that one bathes in the Ganges, the river, beautiful river in India, Ganges, despite the foam and the mud and this and that. So in other words, if someone's a pure devotee, if someone's a great devotee, we take their initiation, we take shelter from, despite any material, disease or whatever it may be. So. So of a guru. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because that's a good point. That there's many gurus, and some gurus are way more popular, just by numbers of disciples, by maybe their preaching method. Just like, for example, Jayapataka Swami. He's a very sweet devotee, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he has, I don't know, like 40,000 disciples or something, like a lot, and preaching all over the world. He knows a few languages: Spanish, Bengali, English. He's based there in Mayapur, or Radhanath Swami, who's like second to him, second, meaning like it's not like some race or something, but second in terms of how many disciples he has. He has quite a few disciples. I don't know how much exactly, but and these, they're we could say the most popular in the world actually. So to accept initiation from one of them simply on the basis of, oh wow, they have so many disciples and they're such great personalities, and it's kind of like I'm going to use them, not you could say completely, but use them in the sense that, hey, well, I'm a disciple of so and so. Yeah, for our ego to uplift ourselves. That's not good. Now, of course, one may be popular guru, one may not be so popular, one may be, in that spectrum of popularity. But if one's like super popular guru, if you're inspired by them, if you're in, if you're like, yeah, if you're inspired by them, if you're encouraged by them, enthused by them, then it's not that just because they're popular you can't take initiation. You can take initiation, but just be careful that we don't try to we're very humble. We try to be humble and not try to push ourselves forward on the basis of the qualifications of our guru, which is another thing because we're actually supposed to represent our guru. It's difficult actually because if you have such a great guru, you got to represent or try. It could be challenging because that's another trick, because someone in their mind, they may think, oh hey, well, I'll say I'm the guru of so and so, and I may be the guru of so and so, and people think, oh great, wow, this is amazing, he's the guru, he's the disciple of so and so. But then we have to like make up to the mark, like, all right, you're the disciple of so and so, but you have to act, we have to act properly. So yeah, so inappropriate reason to try to, for our own egoistic purposes, to accept a popular guru, to accept a guru or not accept a guru based on background, ethnicity, inappropriate. Also, um, maybe for like pure pressure reasons. Oh well, everybody here is taking shelter of a particular guru. I guess I should too, because I don't want to feel like you know, the guy out of the club or something. But if we feel inspired by a particular guru, it may not be the guru who a lot of people are taking initiation from, but we're inspired, so we take initiation from him, which I don't think is a big problem here. But can anybody think of any other inappropriate reasons? Also, kind of work yourself up, and you may be in this particular zone in the world, and oh, I get initiation from this guru, and then I could kind of like work myself up the ISKCON ladder, be a leader of this group, that group, and hey, I'm a disciple, and kind of like it's a similar thing to for popularity reasons. But the main thing is just to just try to understand that it's spiritual. It's beyond the body. It's beyond the mind. It's beyond like anything material. It's a close, deep, intimate, uh, wonderful relationship with another exalted devotee. And however that manifests, whoever that is, however that manifests, it manifests like that, and just try to do it for the right reasons. And if we do have, desires like that, we should try to understand, oh well, or conceptions, we should try to understand how that's not exactly the best, those conceptions, those desires to take initiation for certain reasons, so proper. We just try to like get rid of those, understand that, hey, this isn't so good, like there was one rock band who stayed together. A lot of them, break up, they fight with each other and stuff. And so one of them asked, and an interviewer asked, "Oh, how do you stay together?" And one of the leaders of the rock band said, "Oh, well, I just didn't say that everything that was on my mind." Because if you say anything that's on your mind, you make people mad and this and that. So in other words, there was a sense of control there that, okay, well, I may have misconceptions. Well, let me try to understand how these misconceptions are misconceptions. Or I may have certain desires to progress in my spiritual life a certain way, but they may not be so good. So let me try to put those aside and strive in the right way. Um, yeah. So, but it's like, the charisma of a guru. Generally, they may be charismatic people. Gurus they have a lot of, depending on the particular guru, they have. I'm just thinking of like my spiritual master. You know, and I'm thinking of Indrayumna Swami, I'm thinking about Radhanath Swami, and each of them have their own kind of mood and their own style of charisma. You know, yeah, they're all very different. Um, but people are attracted by that. But really, that charisma, it's coming from their Krishna consciousness. Their spiritual practice, their spiritual personality manifesting. So the main thing is just not to, for mundane reasons, for material reasons, accept a guru. Like I was joking about the teeth, it's got nice teeth. Um, at one particular stage, Prabhupada, he actually lost like the front tooth. Like it literally, came out, and I don't know if Prabhupada continued like that for quite a while, but he continued for some time at least. And there's pictures, of Srila Prabhupada, and he's got this big smile, and he's smiling, and one of his front teeth is missing completely. And somebody was bringing that up. It's like generally, when somebody's missing their front tooth, people don't look at that as like, attractive. But they were saying with Prabhupada, it was attractive. It was still, despite him not having a tooth. Of course, Prabhupada was so spiritually attractive. It's so.
There's a, I can't remember his name. There's a guru that gives classes on Instagram.
Mm.
I think in his past he's had a stroke.
Might be Radha Govinda Swami. He's Indian, from India.
He's American. And he gives classes with Pakistan sometimes. But his classes are very, very good.
Yeah. Oh, it might be Jayapataka Swami.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. Because, yeah.
But if you get past the delivery,
Yeah. Yeah.
his message is incredible.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll listen in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, Jayapataka Swami is quite an amazing person. But he's traveling so much, and at one point in an airport in South America, this crazy, like Hare Krishna who went crazy. I don't even. Anyways, who knows what he was or who he was or whatever? But he actually got a knife in the airport and stabbed him right here. Close to the neck, or practically the neck. And it was a very critical situation, and I don't know what devotees did in South America there in the airport. I think he went to jail, but one devotee was telling me that if they would have done that in India, probably would have like really beat him up really bad. Just right there, they would have, But anyways, they're in an airport in South America, and I think they just, threw him in jail. But so that was one thing that happened. Then he's traveling all over the world. He travels a lot, and then he kept on traveling, and then he had a stroke. It was something weird. It was like, I don't know, 2% chance of living or something. And then he lived through that stroke afterwards. He was doing all this therapy and everything, and then he got his power of speech back. and of course, paralyzed, and he's in a wheelchair, but still he's traveling and he's speaking. So he's amazing, actually. So yeah. All right. Okay, so steps for selecting guru. This is 34. Okay, the following steps are adapted from ISKCON law regarding steps towards initiation. 1 year preparatory period. Prabhupada Diksha Shiksha Guru Padashaya Harinam initiation. So it says 1 year preparatory period. Engage favorably in devotional service. Strictly follow 4 regulative principles. Chant 16 rounds a day. Attend full morning program. Those are for the temple residents. Attend morning program at home or namhata. Those are for the non-temple residents. And yeah, I understand sometimes there's no place to go, but to have some type of morning program is good. Chanting of Hare Krishna and so on. Prabhupada Pradasha, focus attention on Srila Prabhupada as preeminent Shiksha Guru. Chant Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras while offering obeisances. Receive guidance from respective ISKCON spiritual authorities, Shiksha Gurus. Complete ISKCON disciple course. All right, so you're doing that. Diksha and Shiksha Guru Parashara. After a minimum of 6 months of following the above, one may select an ISKCON authorized Diksha Guru. So we should be chanting Prabhupada's pranam mantra, following the regulative principles, doing all these different things. And then after 6 months, it says that one may select an ISKCON authorized Diksha Guru from amongst one's established Shiksha Gurus. Note that 6 months is the minimum period, and one may take as much time as required to make this selection. So you may not make a selection in 6 months. You may make a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. There's no, in one sense, rush. Responsibility of candidates to choose guru by the exercise of their own intelligence. So we have to use our intelligence to select. Notify the local temple president or relevant authority. Take written examination issued by ISKCON authority. Hare Krishna. Okay, there's a written examination. Receive formal letter of recommendation from ISKCON authority. So once we may ask the spiritual master directly, or we may have somebody asking for us, but there should be a recommendation letter at some point from the GBC or from the temple president or something like that, someone like that. Receive permission from the selected guru. Begin to worship that guru and chant his pranam mantra. In addition to taking instruction from one selected Diksha Guru, one continues to take instruction from one's established Shiksha Gurus. Communicate to Guru and local authorities if one decides to aspire for initiation from another ISKCON Guru. So in other words, if we change our mind, then we communicate that. Hey, I changed my mind. Harinam initiation. After a subsequent minimum of 6 months, one may accept Vaishnav Diksha. The guru is under no obligation to initiate a candidate. So in other words, it's like, well, hey, it's been 6 months. Are you ready, Gurudev, to initiate me? And he's like, well, not exactly, because I don't think you're ready. He's like, well, hey, no, initiate me. Well, I don't think you're ready. No, initiate. I want initiation now. So we can't demand. He's under no obligation. There was one story of this person. He wanted to take initiation from a particular guru, and the guru didn't want to initiate him for whatever reasons. So then one day the guru was walking into the temple room, and this person, he put out his foot, like this. And then the guru tripped. And then when the guru tripped, he said, Hare Krishna. And then the disciple said, oh, thank you. I got the mantra from you. now I'm initiated. Joking. Um, I don't know if that actually happened, but I heard that. I don't think it happened. But story. You know how stories are sometimes. But this did happen. That there was. I'll tell you something that I know for sure did happen. There was one devotee in Vrindavan. He wanted to take initiation from Ayendra Prabhu, who was the famous kirtan leader, passed away in 2009. And then Ayendra Prabhu didn't want to do it. He's a Shiksha guru, but he's not a Diksha guru. He didn't want to be. So then this person said, "All right, Ayendra Prabhu, will you give me initiation?" He said, "No, I won't do that. Sorry." He said, "Okay, fine. Will you channel my beads then?" Then Ayendra Prabhu said, "Okay, sure, I'll chant your beads." So he chanted all day. Have rounds. He chanted 32, 64, whatever he was chanting. Chanted all day on them. And he said, "Okay, here's your beads back." And then this person said, "All right." He said, "Can you give me a spiritual name now?" And Ayendra Prabhu said, "No. Good try though." So, because he's chanting on his beads, give a spiritual name, but so he's not under obligation to initiate. But generally, if one follows, if one's sincere, then the guru will initiate. After initiation, one may accept additional shiksha gurus with the permission of one's diksha guru. All right, so the next few. All right, I'll read this. Personal behavior and preaching. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you are the most advanced devotee in the world. Purport. Sanatana Goswami clearly defines herein the bona fide spiritual master of the world. The qualifications expressed in this connection are that one must act according to the scriptural injunctions, and at the same time, preach. One who does so is a bona fide spiritual master. So you have to follow, practice what we preach. Practice what they preach. Okay, so whether one is a Brahmin, a highly qualified priest with all good qualities, a sannyasi, a renunciate, or a Shudra, pretty interesting. Shudra is a kind of laborer person. Regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. If he knows the science of Krishna. This is from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Madhya Leela. An example that's given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is this personality, born as a Shudra, but living as a Shudra. He was a government man, and he was Ramananda Roy. He was so advanced, pure devotee of Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was discussing with him all about these topics, Krishna topics. You also have in the Bhagavatam, Vidura, he's born Shudra, but he's a pure devotee. Lord Chaitanya says that every one of you become the spiritual master, every one of you. Why one, two, every one of you? Oh, spiritual master is a very difficult job. No difficult job. Chaitanya Maha Amara Gaya. Just try to carry out my order. That's all. Then you become spiritual master. On my order, that is the crucial point. So how everyone can become a spiritual master? A spiritual master must have sufficient knowledge, so many qualifications. No, even without any qualifications, one can become a spiritual master. How? Now the process is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Amar Agyaya, one on my order. That is the crucial point. One does not become spiritual master by his own whims. That is not spiritual master. He must be ordered by superior authority. Then he is spiritual master. Amara Gaya. Just like in our case, Srila Prabhupada says, our case, he's talking about himself. Our superior authority, our spiritual master, he ordered me that you just try to preach this gospel, whatever you have learned from me, in English. So we have tried it. That's all. It is not that I am very much qualified. The only qualification is that I have tried to execute the order of superior authority. That's all. This is the secret of success. So from any ashram on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by personal behavior and preaching. One should not accept a guru suddenly out of fanaticism. That is very dangerous. The Shastras, scriptures, enjoin that before we take a guru, we should study him carefully to find out whether we can surrender to him. In other words, do I really want to follow this person? Can I follow this person? We should not accept a guru suddenly out of fanaticism. That is very dangerous. The guru should also study the person who wants to become a disciple to see if he is fit. This is the way a relationship is established between the guru and disciple. In Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami, it is directed that the spiritual master and the disciple must meet together at least for 1 year, so that the disciple may also understand that here is a person whom I could accept as my guru. And the guru also can see that here is a person who is fit for becoming my disciple. Then the business is nice. So one must hear, associate, meet together. So therefore the process is before accepting a guru, one must hear him at least for 1 year. So to hear regularly, ideally daily. And when he's convinced that here is actually a guru who can teach me. So we have to feel that we're being taught. Like I'm being taught something here. I understand I'm being taught. I'm feeling inspired. Then you accept him, guru. Do not accept whimsically. One must not bring upon himself the calamity of having to reject his spiritual master. The scriptures recommend that both the guru and the disciple place each other under strict scrutiny before mutual acceptance. Since even ordinary household items are tested before acquisition, like if you, of course, in relation, anyways, ordinary household items are tested, right? People, they order things, and or whatever. People want, oh, do I really want this car? Well, let me give it, let me take it on a trip. Let me rent one that I'm thinking about getting this car. Let me rent one and see how it feels, see how it works and operates, and even ordinary things. It is only an unfortunate fool who will fail to go through a testing period in the selection of his true spiritual master, who is the best friend of all living entities. The point is that one must not bring upon himself the calamity of having to reject his spiritual master. If one is prudent, he can avoid such a situation. This is very important to try to note this. Should really have faith in the guru before we accept. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in the terms of Shastra conjunctions. Srila Jiva Goswami advised that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social and ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. Prabhupada's guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was such a intellectual, means he was a pure devotee, but he was an intellectual giant. And he accepted as his guru Gorkashodas Babaji, who was said to be illiterate. He could hardly write his name. That's what it says. But so many great devotees would come to Gorkashodas Babaji to hear from him. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he came to surrender to him, despite being an intellectual giant and his guru, just practically illiterate. And a Babaji living in the forest practically, chanting Hare Krishna day and night. So he came to surrender to him. And Gorkashodas Babaji, he said, oh, I've had some disciples and they went away, so I'm not so interested. And eventually he said, let me ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, see what he says. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came back like a week later and said, what did Mahaprabhu say? And then Gorkashodas Babaji said, oh, I forgot to ask. And then later he asked again, and then he said, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't give me any direction. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was just like completely distraught, and he said, please initiate me. Eventually initiated him. But the point I wanted to bring up was that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when commenting on this, him getting initiated, he said that either this man, Gorkashodas Babaji, is completely proud and arrogant because he's not seeing anything everything that was impressive to everybody else in the world, he wasn't even paying attention to. So either he was proud or he was completely transcendental to it. Because so many people were dying to have Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a disciple. But Shordas Babu said, that's okay. Because he was transcendental, He wasn't impressed by all these other things. But eventually he accepted him. So it's mentioning in terms of hereditary means, through birth or social or different material reasons why we don't accept, but we could accept even if materially could say the person's. I could say, oh, I only accept a guru who has a PhD. I don't know if anybody ever said that before, but what if the guru has a high school diploma? Do you accept him still? Well, according to Krishna consciousness, we should, if he's Krishna conscious, if he's spiritually advanced. So, correctly choose by the exercise of their own intelligence. It is the personal responsibility of candidates for initiation to correctly choose by the exercise of their own intelligence a particular devotee as spiritual master. Candidates for initiation should accept initiation from a spiritual master only after developing firm and mature faith in that devotee and in his ability to take them back to Godhead. Sadhu, scripture, and guru are the authoritative references to apply in ascertaining the level of advancement of a devotee. Receiving official ISKCON Guru approval signifies that the devotee has successfully completed the authorization process set forth in ISKCON law, and that in the judgment of certain senior devotees, the candidate measures up to the standards and guidelines given in ISKCON law. However, such approval is not automatically to be taken as a statement about the degree of God realization of the approved Guru, and it is not intended to replace the intelligent discrimination of the candidate. So there's some additional quotes that, if you like, you could read on your free time. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Or comments? You have something? No? Okay. All right, so we could go on then. Let's see. Lesson 7. Initiation vows. Yes, sir. We're making progress. Qualities of a disciple: strictly following initiation of vows, challenges faced following initiation of vows, solutions to challenges, steps of rectification. Would you like to read, Dimitri? Qualities of a disciple?
Yeah. The servant of disciple of the spiritual master should be free from false prestige, never considering himself to be the doer. He should feel an enmity toward no one, should be active and never lazy, and should give up all sense of proprietorship over the object of the senses, including his wife, children, home, and society. He should be endowed with feelings of loving friendship toward the spiritual master and should never become deviated or bewildered. The servant of disciple should always desire advancement and spiritual understanding, should not envy anyone, and should always avoid useless conversation.
So those are some qualities of a disciple. You think that, oh, that sounds like the guru, because it's pretty, high, tall order. But these are something to meditate on and, try to strive for, and hopefully we're, imbibing some of these in general. But we shouldn't become discouraged thinking that it's high standard. But if we don't have high standards to strive for, what do we strive for? We don't strive for anything good. So it's good to have high standards to strive for. Keeps us humble too, right? Got really high standards to strive for, and oh man, it's kind of high. Just keep kind of humble, because if we have kind of low standards, then hey, I'm a saint, I'm the Messiah here. I I only whatever. I only drink vodka, 3 times a day. I'm the Messiah here, It's low standard, right? Okay, so you can go on.
Importance of following initiation vows. So, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling.
So doya, that means mercy. Tapa is austerity. Shaucham is cleanliness. And satyam is truthfulness. Yes. Daya is mercy. And tapa is austerity. And shaucham is cleanliness. And satyam is truthfulness. So, no meat eating, this helps us with being merciful. In other words, our heart is soft, or has the ability to be soft, or softer. It means we have a compassionate heart, right? If we have a compassionate heart, this helps. No meat eating. So, in terms of intoxication, tapa, or the thing is, if we take intoxication, then this it's difficult to actually perform austerity. And austerity means taking on some difficulty materially for a higher purpose, like rising early in the morning. It's an austerity, but we could do it for our spiritual practices. So intoxication, it doesn't help with that, so therefore we don't do it. The idea is that we're already intoxicated, or people are already intoxicated by the bodily concept of life, right? I am this body, so on. So many misconceptions, which are like intoxications. So we add some more intoxication to it, and then we become really kind of confused. So a clear mind has the ability to focus, has the ability to do things that may not be so comfortable materially for our higher purposes. So therefore, no intoxication. Illicit sex, no illicit sex, shaucham, cleanliness. It's a, 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 a pure mind is a mind devoid of selfishness and different things like that. So, following this principle of no illicit sex, that facilitates one's purity of consciousness, purity of mind, which is just there to really to give us the ability to focus on Krishna, on spirituality, because all these other things, illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, this all just fogs the mind. So we want to have a clearer mind so we could focus on that which is ultimately important. And all of these things also reinforce the bodily concept of life. I am this body, meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication. So therefore we don't engage in them. And gambling, no gambling, it's truthfulness. It's just unnecessary, and it's a waste of money, right? Waste of time. And it also encourages it also encourages us to, a lot of the times the things that, like gambling, for example, that mood and that mode, it may transfer to other aspects of our life. We start seeing life as like some big, gambling kind of, hey, I'm gambling my money. Well, why don't I gamble whatever, other things too, kind of. And aside from that, it's really just these things are seen just to be as distractions that cloud the mind, that infuel, or was it not infuel? I don't think it's a word, but ignite ignite greed, for example, gambling. And for people to not do these things, people think, oh, that's impossible. It's like, oh, like one of Prabhupada's god brothers went to London, and then this big lord, lords and ladies over there, this big lord, Lord Zetlin, said, oh, can you make me a Brahmin? He heard that, oh, it's very prestigious to be a Brahmin, Can you make me a Brahmin? And then he said, yeah, I can make you a Brahmin. I can do that. And then the man said, Lord Zetlin said, okay, well, what do I have to do to be a Brahmin? He said, well, you just have to, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. I can make you a Brahmin because, Brahmins, they follow certain standards. And then this Lord said, impossible. I can't do that. Prabhupada commented on these principles, and he said, oh, I'm coming to America and I'm telling everybody to follow this. He said, I thought that I was going to come over here and tell everybody, you follow this. No, no, no. You chant Hare Krishna. And he said, I thought people were going to tell me, okay, Swami, you go home. You go back to India. But interesting enough is that when Prabhupada introduced these, he actually initiated the devotees first. He said he gave them names and everything. And then after the initiation, Prabhupada said, oh yeah, by the way, this initiation means you vowed not to, you're not going to do these things. Anyways, we don't do that anymore though, but it was a time and place and Prabhupada was getting things started, So no meat, fish, or eggs too. We don't do eggs. But there was devotees would have in San Francisco. There's a donut shop. There's a donut shop in New York also. It's a devotee run. I don't know if you know about that, but it's nice if you ever go there. But devotees make donuts too. There's also one in Laguna Beach. Devotees make some donuts. But anyways, devotees were attached to donuts in San Francisco. And donuts have eggs, and a lot of them have eggs. A lot of baked stuff has eggs. I guess they think you really need eggs and all those things, but you could bake without eggs too. So I think they're starting to kind of wake up to that fact, but becoming more and more available. But a lot of donuts have eggs, so the devotees, whether they knew their egg, they probably weren't even thinking whether they're eggs in them, but they liked donuts. So Prabhupada would walk by, and he knew the devotees were in there having donuts, the donut shop, after they got initiated and everything. And then they would see Prabhupada, they see Swamiji, and he'd walk out of the storefront. And then one time, there's like a booth there. And then all the devotees saw Prabhupada, and they dug under the booth. And then as they got up, Prabhupada, he was standing there, looking at them, like, oh, hey, because he saw them. So, and Srila Prabhupada, there was one devotee, he writes about it in his book, and he talks about it, so we could use his name, there's no problem. But Shyamasundar, he was carving the deity of Lord Jagannath, which is still in Berkeley. You could go and visit, but it was the first Jagannath deity in America, and they took Jagannath out on Rath Yatra, the parade, and Baladev and Subhadra. So he was carving Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Prabhupada went to go see him, the carving. And then on top of Jagannath's head, there's a pack of cigarettes there. Shamasundar's. He's having a hard time giving up that habit of smoking cigarettes. So then Prabhupada said, oh, what is this? And Shama said, oh, Prabhupada, it's cigarette. I'm, still kind of attached to that. And he said, and he took his cane and he flicked the pack of cigarettes and it fell on the ground. And he said, you shouldn't let such a small thing keep you away from Krishna. And Prabhupada gave him some advice. He said, you should reduce the amount of cigarettes you smoke, gradually until you're able to give it up. That was Prabhupada, and he did. So also in relation to, there's different principles, and these are what we vow to take at initiation, vow to follow these principles. No fish no meat, fish, or eggs. The principle is to take prasadam, which means food cooked with love and devotion for Krishna, offered with love and devotion, and taken by us with love and devotion, prasadam. Now, of course, nowadays with the advent of factories and all these other things, sometimes people, they have family engagements, social engagements, this and that. They're forced to go to restaurants. Maybe they don't like to, or maybe they just go to, maybe devotees just go to restaurants, as because that's what people do, in this age, in this time. But restaurants is a somewhat new invention. As far as I know. I mean, maybe it was going on in the past, but I don't think it's gone so much as it is now. Fast food restaurants and everything. But the principle is that the cook's consciousness goes into the food. It's a psychological thing. It goes into the food. Some people say, "Oh yeah, my grandmother's cookies, yeah, they're so great." Why would they so? Oh, because she just put so much love and devotion in the cookies. Which there's something there actually. It's a true statement. So in a, you could say, negative way, the cooks of these different restaurants and places, by nature, it's not that they're like, yes, I'm going to put all my bad consciousness into this food. Not like they're trying to. And someone may argue, well, maybe they don't have bad conscience. Maybe they have good conscience. Maybe it's a conscious place. But it's hard to say. Who are these cooks? What do they stand for? What are their habits and so on, cleanliness. So so the idea is to ultimately not to go to those places, because they're just not good for our consciousness. Make your own food. You could be part of the make your own prasadam movement. Now, of course, there was one devotee, he had to do such things for social engagements, right? But they would also tell, oh, you don't eat meat. Oh, you don't drink alcohol. What's going on? So he would go there, and you don't eat eggs. So he would call in advance, and he would say, oh, I'm allergic to meat and fish and eggs, so I can't have any of that. So they'd make him something else. And then he'd say, and then what he would do, he'd get a glass, and he'd like pour 7-Up in it, and he would walk around with a glass full of 7-Up, and with his, I'm allergic to fish, and eggs. So he was able to kind of fool them. So yeah, for social engagements or family engagements, that people may have to do that at times, restaurants. But the best is just to avoid. I mean, my spiritual master, he was initiating these householder devotees, and he was telling them, they're a married couple, my god brother and sister in Houston, but they have kids, so the kids like to eat at different restaurants, go here and there, and my spiritual master said, well, to start with, at least you have to make sure that these places are vegetarian, because there can't be meat going on in there. So that was one thing he said, and then he said, yeah, but you should strive to the point where you don't have to do that. Of course, I think they said, oh well, they go for the kids now and not them, because the kids, they're young, so it's hard to, your kids are saying, oh, take me to the red, and you're saying, no, it's so. But eventually, they worked on that, and they got closer to this ideal of just having food cooked by themselves or by devotees. So anyways, that's the That's the idea. And yeah, so I know the direction of the world is not helping with that at all. But anyways, that's the idea. So that's the best to do that. But definitely, you know, whatever, no meat or fish or eggs, Yes, it's difficult, especially when you're working with, yeah, because you're at some wedding or something. They're saying, "Oh, traveling, yeah, it's difficult." So yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, pile of samosas. Yeah. So yeah, prasadam. Because there's that difference. Prasadam is like, we should take it as whenever we, have the great fortune of taking prasadam, you know, at the temple or at our homes or whatever, it's great. It's a great process because it's spiritual, it's transcendental, it's cooked with love and devotion, offered to Krishna, taken. So very special. Yeah. So, anyways, these are some points. Um, okay, I cannot give you protection. That is not possible. It is not very difficult to follow the four regular principles. These things should be stopped if you'll want to be serious. Otherwise, make a farce and do whatever you like. I cannot give you protection. That is not possible. So you must have to follow these rules and regulation if you are serious. Then take initiation. Otherwise, don't make farce. Don't make farce. That is my request. Otherwise, they are not my disciples. My advice is always chant 16 rounds minimum and follow the four regular principles. All of my disciples must agree on this point, otherwise they're not my disciples. My disciples must follow these principles, living either in heaven or hell. um, so there's the standards of the high standards of Krishna consciousness, um, and the principle is we should never give up the idea of in other words, like somebody asked the question, Tukaram Prabhu asked the question to some devotees at a Long Beach gathering. He said, "Oh, I know all of you, some of you are initiated out there," and I was in the audience too. And he said, "So, how many of you would rather die than give up your initiation vows?" And it's kind of like, okay, would I rather die or rather give up my initiation vows? It's kind of a serious question. And some devotees, they kept their hand down. And Tukaram wasn't so happy about that. He said, he said, I'm going to note that. You rather, break your vows than die. But I raised my hand. I said, I'd rather die than give up my initiation vows. And Damodar raised his hand. Damodar Kumar. Lakshman raised his hand too. Yeah. So now thinking about this, because some devotees think, well, okay, would I rather die or whether break my vows? And people say, I don't do both, but for given that such an option, I think some devotees were confused on how to answer it based on their thinking. It's like, okay, well, do I really have that much conviction in myself of following these versus dying? Um, like, would I rather die than break my vows? But I thought about it and I looked at it as that um, I looked at it as like, okay, well, what if one does, struggle with something? They say they have intoxication or something. That people, devotees have lenience. So what if one does break the vow? Well, if one does, then they should repent and they should pray and they should get up and continue on the path of getting free from that, following. So I looked at it as that if you answer the question as, well, I rather die than give up my initiation vows, meaning I rather die than give up the challenge, give up the path of Krishna consciousness, give up my faith to my spiritual master. Give up these standards means these high standards to follow. In other words, I'm going to try and try and try and try and try. Who's that? Tapas? Hare Krishna. There's a bathroom there too. Okay, somebody's in there now. Hare Krishna. That's okay. You just go there. So, in other words, we should have this faith and conviction, and devotees should have this faith and conviction that, yes, I vowed to follow these, rules and regulations. But we see sometimes in devotees' lives that they may have a hard time with those vows. I mean, this is what we're discussing in this particular section here. But they should feel that, well, that I should be willing to try and try and try and try and try, despite if there's some, impediments, despite if there's some failures. Not that, oh, well, anyways, try to change the standard, or they try to, all right, well, I did that when I was kind of younger, and I don't really I wasn't really know what I was getting myself into. I can't really follow. That's not really practical to follow these. But we don't change the standard, and we do vow to follow these. But yes, there can be problems sometimes. So, yes, that's true. Yes. Yes. Yes, he is. That's true. That's true. Yes. Yes. Yeah, because then it's like, oh, well, what would I rather die, or what would I rather give up my initiation vows? Which I don't know. I because you could see it black and white, or you could see it in spectrum. Like, what does it mean to give up your initiation vows? Does it mean completely? Like, hey, I vowed to follow these 4 principles, but now I'm completely giving up my initiation vows to my guru. Yeah. If you look at it in that way, then that's one way. But if you look at it as like, oh, I rather die than give up my initiation vows, meaning that, okay, it may be understood, or it may be implied, or we see that there may be difficulties in following all the time, in some cases. Yeah, challenges. So a person should have conviction that, yes, I'm not going to give up my initiation vows. I'm not going to give up my loyalty. I'm not going to give up my surrender. I'm not going to give up my endeavors. I'm not going to give up my life to again go back into the clutches of the loser energy. And Prabhupada understands this too. Of course Prabhupada understands, but he mentions in many purports, he mentions, sometimes devotees, they may be challenged by the loser energy, and because they're not strong enough, they may not, pass certain tests, but the devotee shouldn't give up, and then over time they'll be successful. So, anyways, yeah, but Tukaram Prabhu's, good teacher. Okay, so, write in the box below some helpful solutions to challenges faced in strictly following initiation vows. So this is a writing exercise. So what are some helpful solutions? Somebody struggling, with initiation vows, strictly following them. So what are some positive solutions helpful to help? So we'll take a few moments. So would anyone like to share? What about Ty? You like to share, Ty? Big Ty? Okay, let's hear it. Hare Krishna. Tyler.
Yes. This was a little challenging, actually, this question, because I'm like positing what it will be like to be initiated and to have taken vows.
Yes.
So I'm totally speculating.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking about the things that we can do now. Basically, the things that help me follow the vows right now. Because right now, living in the ashram, we're following pretty much those same vows. We just haven't formally done that. So devotee association is huge.
Yes.
Especially initiated devotee association.
Yes.
You can talk to them about what they do with that. And then also, you now have a guru to help you with this.
Yeah.
So to seek shelter or advice or mercy from guru, to tell them honestly, hey, I'm struggling with this aspect. Now you get that real good instruction from the person who can help you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the devotee association, guidance, help from the spiritual master. These are different ways. I mean, we have to be humble. We have to be sincere. I mean, Prabhupada would say sometimes if we're humble, if we're sincere, then the path is very clear. See, that rhymes, right? Humble, sincere, the path is very clear. So, in other words, Krishna will direct us how to get out of challenging situations. So, all right, we'll read these last two quotes here. All right, so last two quotes are. If still you're unable to fulfill that promise to your spiritual master, then what is the use of calling yourself devotee and disciple? That is simply pretending. So you should think like this: that I have promised my spiritual master, now I must obey him without any exception. Otherwise, I have no business calling myself his disciple. That will be your austerity or tapasya for forcing you to make rapid advancement in Krishna conscious understanding. Without tapasya, there's no question of making advancement. You must avoid these four basic principle restrictions under all circumstances without any exceptions. Of course, once, twice, Krishna may excuse. That is not very difficult. But more than that, it will become very difficult for Krishna to excuse you, and there is a great risk that everything will be lost despite all of your time and effort spent. You have asked if it is true that the spiritual master remains in the material universe until all his disciples are transferred to the spiritual sky. The answer is yes. This is the rule. Therefore, every student should be very careful, much careful not to commit any offense which will be detrimental to his promotion to the spiritual kingdom, and thereby the spiritual master has to incarnate again to deliver him. This sort of mentality will be a kind of offense to the spiritual master. Out of the 10 kinds of offenses, the number one offense is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. The instructions given to the disciple by the spiritual master at the time of initiation should be strictly followed. That will make one advance to the spiritual path. But if one deliberately defies such instructions, then his advancement is hampered from the very beginning. This defined means to disconnect the relationship with the spiritual master, and anyone who defies and therefore disconnects the relationship with the spiritual master can hardly expect the assistance of the spiritual master life after life. I hope this will clear up this question sufficiently for you. It's a letter to Jayapataka Swami. All right, I think we could read a little bit of the next one. It's short. This is Guru Puja. The spiritual master is honored as much as the Supreme Lord. This is text 42. Because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. Lord Shiva told the goddess Durga, "My dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of the demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is taught most. However, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is the rendering of service to Vaishnavas, who are related to Lord Vishnu." Krishna told Arjuna, "Those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are devotees of my servant are actually my devotees." So this Guru Puja, which we're doing, means worshiping. Puja means to worship. Guru's Guru. It is not self-aggrandizement. It is real teaching. You sing daily. What is that? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Ara Na Kali Aikya. Bas. This is translation. Bas. Finished. I tell you frankly, whatever little success is there in this Krishna conscious movement, I simply believed what was spoken by my Guru Maharaj. You also continue that. Then every success will come. We could discuss some benefits of regular Guru Puja. What are some benefits of regularly worshiping the spiritual master? Well, one is humility, because like every day we're bowing down to Prabhupada, we're laying there in front of him saying prayers, we're singing, offering garlands and so on. It's in serving the spiritual master too, it's also very humbling. Like serving my spiritual master, I serve him prasadam when I see him. I have like my good fortune, and yeah, it's humbling. You're there serving, and also because he's so grave and deep and serious. It's humbling, and I always think practically every time, I'm thinking of how he's like humbling me. So that's the benefit of worshiping the Guru. It's humbling. It's transforming. It's it pleases Krishna, right? Like these verses are saying, one who worships my devotee, he is my devotee, not one who worships me personally, directly. It's edifying, uplifting. So yeah, this is the process to worship the Guru. Actually, we're not part of a religion or spiritual process that says, oh, you don't need a guru, you don't need a priest to connect you. We're into one, we need to connect us.
Also, maybe in service we also.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very important part. The benefit of it, yeah, yes, is to develop that. Because if you serve somebody, worship somebody, the person, provided the person's a great worshipful personality, will develop that connection, that love, service. So it's very beautiful, actually. Despite if we, able to kind of get into it, from a mundane perspective, is you guys are worshiping this, guru, and he's a human. Why are you doing that? What is he, God? Of course, he's not God, but you know, people don't understand. But if we're worshiping as a representative of Krishna and such a great personality, then very beneficial and beautiful. So this is Pranam mantras. After chanting the Pranam mantra of their Diksha Guru, all grand disciples in future generations should chant at least the first part of Srila Prabhupada's Pranam mantras while offering obeisances as a means of respecting the founder Acharya. Just chant the second part too. While performing arti in the temple or at temple-related functions, a pujari may keep a small picture of his or her Diksha Guru on the arti tray or the table instead of on the altar. Provided the Diksha Guru is an ISKCON approved Guru in good standing, the picture of the Diksha Guru should be smaller in size than the picture of Srila Prabhupada on the altar and shall be removed after the arti. So they put a picture below. If you look there the next time Dayanidhi or whoever does the arti, there's a picture below the Guru. So keep it in our homes too. The disciples of ISKCON gurus, other than Srila Prabhupada, may offer Guru Puja to the gurus outside the temple room. The temple should provide facility of these disciples' worship. So in other words, in the past there was some eclipsing of Srila Prabhupada's, Srila Prabhupada. Means there was a lot of focus on other gurus, and Prabhupada was not completely removed from the picture, but there was a lack of emphasis and some of the history of ISKCON after Prabhupada left. So these are all laws and rules to kind of check those tendencies. So, he's a new Prabhupada or something. And people could have all types of funny ideas. No one in ISKCON will be addressed publicly with the honorific title His Divine Grace, nor be addressed either publicly or privately by the honorifics ending in Pad or Dev. So these are different honorifics given by disciples to gurus. So they're saying, don't do that. Disciples may address their ISKCON Diksha or Shiksha gurus as Guru Dev or Guru Maharaj. So we always refer to my spiritual master as Guru Maharaj. And some devotees, like Indrayumna Swami, they refer to him as Guru Dev. It's different. Events welcoming Vaishnavas, including those serving as gurus to ISKCON temples, should be modest. For example, offering of a sitting place, offering a prasadam, something to drink, presentation of a garland, and performance of kirtan. So, yeah. Now, I think devotees have attended the Vyasa Puja. Srila Prabhupada, Vyasa Puja means the worship of the spiritual master, and specifically like on the birthday of the spiritual master. So maybe some of us here have been to Prabhupada's birthday celebration, which is the day after Janmashtami. And if you haven't, we'll have one here this Janmashtami, the day after it's Prabhupada's appearance. Can you tell me the time on your phone, please? Okay. So who's been to Prabhupada's appearance? You have. Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay. You haven't, Tyler? Oh, really? I'm surprised. The next day, because it's Janmashtami, and then the next day is Prabhupada's appearance day. Yeah, you have. Okay. So, what are some reflections? Well,
I had a question about what you just read.
Okay.
If you look for restricted titles part, and it says no one ISKCON, right? It says be addressed.
Yeah, by these different titles.
Right.
Yeah.
But what they're saying, I'm just a little bit of confusion. It says they will not be addressed
Publicly or privately.
By the honorific
Yes.
endings,
Yes.
Pada or Deva.
Yes.
But then they say that we can call them Guru Deva.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's all these different add-ons. You could say, there's different add-ons you could add. Now, this may be a mistake because there are mistakes in this book, editorial mistakes. But there's the name Acharya Dev, for example. They're probably referring to that. Means it's an honorific title, and they're just saying just call him Guru Dev, call him Guru Maharaj, not Acharya Dev, not His Divine Grace, Vishnu Pad, Guru Maharaj, on and on and on. Just simple, yeah.
That's pretty common. That's the standard.
Yeah.
Deviate from that and make a more honorific title.
Well, there's a few more quotes here. And some of the devotees haven't attended a Vyasa Puja before. Anyways, I'll just read these last quotes here. Because one reason is also I'm supposed to go in the temple room soon and give the class. Yeah, at 6:30. So, but we'll read this last two. In order to focus more fully on Srila Prabhupada and every devotee's special relationship with him, an ISKCON Shiksha or Diksha Guru may accept public Guru Puja, arti, and foot bathing in person once a year on his birthday, on ISKCON property on his or her Vyasa Puja birthday. This celebration may be held in the temple room. ISKCON members conducting Vyasa Puja ceremonies for ISKCON Gurus shall observe them in a modest way, significantly less elaborate than Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. In general, devotees shall observe these Vyasa Puja celebrations in their own locales. In ISKCON, Vyasa Puja books may be published only for Srila Prabhupada. It's generally considered a violation of Vaishnava etiquette for disciples to request the spiritual masters, god brothers, or sisters to write an offering for, offer praise during, or participate in Vyasa Puja ceremony for their spiritual master. ISKCON members shall celebrate Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja and disappearance ceremony as the preeminent Vyasa Puja in Tirabhav disappearance ceremony in ISKCON. All ISKCON members are requested to write an annual Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada. So we attend these Vyasa Puja celebration ceremonies of different gurus, and they're just saying, keep it simple, keep it modest. Why? Because we don't want to eclipse Prabhupada. So just a little less than Prabhupada. We're less than Prabhupada. So that's the idea. Yeah. And we could also write an offering to Prabhupada. It's a nice thing to do. Thanking him and this and that every year. All right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.